Let's call to order the special meeting. Today is September 25th, 2024. It's 1:30 p.m. The notice requirements of section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code and the implementing rules adopted by the board pursuant thereto were complied with for the meeting. Roll call.
Rolling here.
Fullerton here.
O'Neill here. Stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Come on in, Josh.
Still wait up one more. Let's we've got three topics and only three topics to discuss today. One will be the internet, telephone, and IT services. Another will be a potential easement, and the third will be the township newsletter for this fall. Let's start with the potential easement while we wait for Keith to show up here. I don't think either of these last two topics will take very long, so we'll just move them up.
Okay.
You guys both got the email I sent out last week, correct? For
Yeah.
Yes.
from submitting to Suzanne, the new owners of the roadside inn. Their septic system is installed on property that is now owned by the township, and they've got a couple options to bring it up to current code or whatever by the Highway PA, and their preferred option, cheapest option, would be to has to start with getting an easement from the township as a property owner for that one. I spoke with the prosecutor's office this morning, and they said even if we did not grant an easement, they may be able to get what's called a prescripted easement, I believe it is, and that's, for lack of a better term, kind of like a squatter's rights thing. It had been implemented for so long that it might just be an accepted thing. Don't quote me on the exact verbiage. I don't know what else conditions it has to meet, but that's the gist of it. They can't get that if the property is owned by a government, such as the township. We bought that property, I believe, in 2001. And I think it's like a 20-year, 21-year thing. So if that septic system was installed in 1980, I think, more or less, they quite possibly could get a prescripted easement based on that. That's something they'd have to go. I think it's a court-determined thing. But I don't know if either of you guys are dead set against it or for us granting them an easement to have the septic system on that property anyway and access to it.
I guess my question is, if I'm not mistaken, the reason that we own that parcel is because the previous owner owned that parcel previously. And the parcel to the east of roads, or actually north, there's a little sliver, another 0.05 acres that used to be owned by the township that was swapped. Is how we came to own the current parcel.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, and again, I know it was the previous owners that had entered into that agreement, but the understanding was that they could maintain the current septic on that, but if anything needed to be done, they'd have to make other arrangements for it. So, did you happen to ask the prosecutor's office if there's a way to potentially just sell them that parcel? I mean, because as it stands, when it's just, and so everybody knows, part of the things that they need is that besides just being allowed to have the septic under the ground, they're now going to need to fence that area in,
Right.
which is going to constructively, when it's just the septic under the ground, there's really no limited use. I mean, there's somewhat of a limited use, but we still have access to that area above. Now they're going to basically be taking that out. I think it would be much cleaner to find a way to just be able to transfer ownership to them, whether we sell it to them for a nominal fee and I don't know what, if we have to put that out to bid. I don't know who else would have an interest in that, but
I don't.
I think that's a cleaner way of doing it rather than working on all these easements.
That's a good point.
Didn't the last owner have easement rights and then it stopped when they sold? Is that how that worked?
I don't know if it was an actual easement granted to them or not.
I believe the easement was, there was no set time period other than, you know, if and when upgrading the system needed to be done, that they would then have, like, they could use this one, as long as this one was the one that served their current setup. But like I said, I don't know if that would end with the sale, or if that would transfer. I would assume it would transfer to the new owner.
I don't know that it did, because the Ohio EPA was, they're pushing for this, that's one of the
Well, they wanna
stipulations.
change, if I understand it correctly, it's that the current system isn't, I think it's up to, isn't up to code, and this is a
Yeah.
way to get it up
That's
to code. So this
part
is
of what
kind
they
of
have to do.
the modification,
Correct.
so that they don't have to do a full-blown
Correct.
replacement.
That's
So-
why it's the more attractive offer.
Oh,
option for
absolutely.
them, yeah.
And I don't, you know, I don't wanna see us standing in the way of it, but at the same time, you know,
I feel the same way.
it's not our obligation to, you know,
Right,
it's not, we have to look at, you know, what's in the best interest, like, the township owns that property, the
Right.
taxpayers own that property,
Right.
so, you know, that's why I'm wondering if there isn't a way that we can't just
We-
sell them that parcel, because
You're
it's not
aware-
like we use it for anything.
correct. You're aware of where that final discharge is from the septic system, aren't you?
It's on to,
It comes significantly
Right.
closer towards the garage.
correct,
Yeah, so it would have to be kind of a large parcel, or more than
so
just where
the
the septic
easement, so
system
the
itself.
easement's not even just for that parcel, it would go even further.
Probably
on.
under the, because it's multiple parcels. I mean, not that we couldn't sell portions of it, but I don't wanna stand in their way. I mean, like you said, it's not being used for anything now. It's been in that condition for decades. That's been the situation. Nothing's really
Yeah.
changed. I don't wanna hold them up any more than,
I'd like to do a little more research on it, unfortunately, just because,
would you guys be opposed to me working with the prosecutor's office to get an easement drawn up that we could possibly vote on next meeting or sometime? Okay. And
I would also, I'm sorry, I would also, I would agree with Justin and see if we can't just make it
Figure out
a
a
clean, buy, or whatever the
Yeah.
prosecutor's recommendations are on that.
Would you guys be okay if I worked with the property owner as well? If there's anything that does need to be done, it's either for a sale or an easement, there would probably be some surveying involved. I would ask them to do that if that's our proposed thing, so we're not paying for surveying costs or anything like that.
the area that needed to be fenced in though, was that all within that parcel, or was the fence gonna need to extend even further?
I don't know if it was.
'Cause that would-
to
yeah.
that
Alright.
extent, cause that would be an odd looking thing, you know?
Yeah.
A fence all the way to the ditch. But if you guys are all right with it, I will make a motion to work with the prosecutor's office and with the property owner to try to iron out a solution, whether it be a draft easement, or a property sale.
And Bruce Hall's representing him, correct?
Yes.
I'm assuming that's why he didn't return, cause he had left a message for the township, and I called him back prior to, I think, you meeting with the property owner. He never got back to
Right,
me,
so you
so.
still haven't heard from him?
No.
Okay.
I'm perfectly fine with, I mean, he's gonna bill his client for calling, if that's all it is, then there's no big deal. I just wanted to confirm that I'm guessing that was what he was calling about.
I don't know, I didn't, all I knew is that you called him back, and I heard you.
But he does represent,
Yes,
okay, so that's what, safe assumption.
yes.
Okay.
Do we have a second for that,
Yeah.
my motion?
Yep, I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next thing is a township newsletter. We've done these now for the last couple years, more or less. I think they've been a pretty good success. I think most of the trash vouchers that were sold this year came back through the hard copies of the,
If they do it in 60 days.
what's that?
Nothing on his comment though.
I think those came through the hard copies of the newsletter. Have you guys both seen draft copies of it?
Yes, I have.
Discussions, comments on it?
No, I mean, I think Kristen did a good job with the newsletter again.
The only thing, there was just the edits we made today.
Right.
If you wanted to show Justin that back page and Ty.
You guys got the
I
cost.
Yeah.
cleaned up the last, fire district page, and then Chris can explain the back page.
Yeah, we kicked around the idea of maybe trying to get a page in there for some sponsors. If we could get some area sponsors to help defray the cost of these in the future, maybe pay for themselves or at least a portion of them.
Kristen mentioned that to me too, I thought it was a good
Yeah.
idea. I mean, it's thinking outside the box, that's for sure.
Well, 'cause the feedback we got back from the last one, at least for myself, the first time going through this, people were just, they loved it. Like, I had people calling the office just to say how much they love the hard copies, especially the older residents that don't have computers or don't use the computer or
Right.
smartphones. They really, and almost every person that came in for a voucher had that in their hand.
You said there were changes in here, Chris?
The back, because I cleaned up the last fire district page, so it looked a little nicer, and I moved the pictures of all the elected officials to that page, and then, so that for the next issue, we would have room for sponsorships.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
And we figured we could maybe get 12 or
12
so
or
more
so
or
of that
less sponsors
size.
on there.
Mm-hmm.
Are you speechless? Thoughts?
I mean, I'll just reiterate what I said in the spring. I just think that, while the newsletter is good, the cost associated with it, I just don't think. I think there's better ways to get the information out. And, based on the quote that we received here, I don't know if it's a mailing list difference or what, but I think in the spring, we spent a little under $2,600, and the quote for the fall mailings pushing $4,200.
I think the difference is a mailing, isn't it?
Yeah, that first quote isn't correct. You're probably just have the printing quote and not the mailing quote.
No,
Yeah,
I'm talking about what we paid this spring.
Yeah, it was more than that.
I thought so too, but I talked to Laura this morning, and the only invoice that she had from Minuteman was for the $25.50. Which
That's not, Ty, what did I send you? I sent you, remember I emailed it to you?
did we do postage separate then or something?
Postage, they invoiced separately.
But was it Minuteman?
Yeah.
Invoiced us?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that goes along with my recollection, but I guess that just jumps to the fact that, you're looking at spending $8 to $10 grand a year to send these two newsletters. I don't know that's just my holdup. I think there's better, at this day and age, we could spend less than that to come up with a better solution to get stuff out electronically. One of the things that I've been working on, and it's not ready to present, but we could really revamp, the website with a lot of additional tools that could push this information out and give residents the opportunity to receive this both mobile and digital and meeting updates. Not that Kristen isn't doing a great job with the website now,
it's
they're just the tools.
The link for the last one is on the website.
Right,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that there are IT solutions that are available that give us better solutions that are more automated than what our current website offers, and that's not, the information that's on there, like I said, to me,
Yeah, that's great.
that's my holdup, is spending this kind of money on a
Yeah, we talked about that in the spring, and how many email addresses did you gain from
200.
advertising? Huh?
200.
200.
That's the thing, it's still gonna be dependent on the recipient, right? I mean, I don't know if,
Sure, but I don't wanna, the effort that we made was good, I'm not knocking that, but there are ways to automate it more, to make it more user-friendly.
every season down the road,
Well, and so that people can just get on there and they can select, this is the information that's important to me. I wanna see when zoning stuff comes up and they can get it automated, pushed out, so that when the website gets updated and we add a meeting, nobody has to go in and send an email to a distribution list or anything along those lines, it automatically pushes that out. People can sign up for, I mean, it's more investing in the website than what we've done in the past. So it is more of an expense there, but it would be significantly less than the
and
$10,000 fee.
assumably that would be front load, that would be an upfront cost that over time wouldn't be.
Most of the services are, you pay an annual subscription for because of the automation that they put in. But yeah, if we paid for web design stuff, and I'm working on this all to put together as we do the .gov transition, so, again, it wouldn't be ready to do in place of this, but that's my holdup is.
Yeah, I
spending
like
another
the
$4,000+
idea, and like,
dollars.
yeah, I mean, I totally agree, I like the idea, and Kristen gained 200 emails from the last one, but, yeah, I'd like to get to that point too, but we're just not there yet.
I would agree with that. I would like to see us get there. And at the same time, if we can try to generate some ads in
Yeah.
these things to help pay for it in the interim, I'd be all for that.
I mean, if there's ideas you want me to run by Abby or like things like that about with the website stuff you're talking, cause I mean, I can work with stuff and she's taught me things, but I'm not a website expert.
Right, and that's why what I'm more referring to is, templating that's already in place, so that you don't have, so it doesn't require a lot of hard programming to change the website and stuff like that. And like I said, that's probably a little bit down the road that I'll be able to present on, but, you asked concerns, that's really my concern, it's just, I don't know that the benefit justifies the cost of the newsletter at this point.
What do you think, Ty?
I mean, I'm in total agreement, other than, I get that it's a little pricey, for sure, and if you do the math, it's $1.30 or $1.40 to each resident, for their flyer. I would still mail it out, but I would be moving, in Kristen's direction with ads to help pay for it, but I'd also like to see, what we can do digitally as well. So I think we gotta kinda do both right now until we can figure out the newer, less expensive,
I would agree with that.
faster way. I mean, the people do love them. I got a lot of good feedback from them, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think last year our interest in the zoning commission, the BZA, came largely through that in the fall newsletter last year.
Yeah, the vouchers.
I would make the motion that we move forward with a fall mailing for up to $4,300 for the 2024 fall newsletter.
Yeah, I'll second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
You're capping at 43.
Yes. Motion carries. All right, last topic will be the work session for the internet, telephone, and IT services and discussion. If one of our guests here is still waiting on another one, but Josh, maybe you wanna, how do you wanna do this?
Keith's getting ready to walk in the door.
Okay.
No, but
We'll bring them on, might as well just have them sit up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless he wants to yell from the back, that's fine too.
My voice carries. No, I'll sit wherever you want me to sit.
Maybe come on up here or at the table up here, either or.
You said Keith was pulling in.
Yeah. Just to jump back a second, Chris, since we're waiting. So the EPA or either the health department won't let them open, right, until they get that?
Yeah, I think they either have to have a new updated septic system on the lot,
On their part.
on their property, or they have to have an easement to ours, plus there's other upgrades they still need to do. It's not they're not waiting on just an easement. One of the things was they had to have it inspected, and I believe they had that done already, and they say it came back good. Now, I think there's still some additional upgrades, but I think the integrity of what's there is good, according to what she told me, so.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't give you much time to talk about it at our next meeting.
No.
Sorry, guys. Yes, sir.
Ready?
Sorry.
That's all right.
Line hanging.
We got some other business accomplished. Ty, do you wanna kinda run with this? You met with everybody.
Yeah, I did, after Justin had brought it up a couple meetings ago, whatever, I did meet with Josh, Dave, from Medina County Fiber, and then Keith with KGC, and we were talking about, the IT, and then we didn't talk numbers, obviously, the quotes that Josh had sent over, but we're just talking about service items, right? And what we currently have for service items, Office 365, Barracuda backup. I'm just trying to recap these two that weren't there. The fob system, the admin doorbell, emailing, archiving, emailing, just a bunch of stuff, printers, and so on. And then Josh was like, well, I didn't bid any of that. So we talked about maybe either working together, collaborating both companies with the township and the district to see how we can save the township money. And so we all agreed to meet again. Didn't invite Dave, he's just the fiber guy, not the downplaying, but I mean, he's a good guy, but I mean, he doesn't offer any other services other than fiber, so I didn't wanna waste his time. So I'll just start with Josh, I guess, since you were a little surprised, about what maybe you weren't asked to quote, I guess, per se. So did you wanna address that, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah.
Since we last talked.
There's a lot of stuff that came out in our last meeting that are items we wouldn't normally take on. I think after talking with Keith and other members, it makes the most amount of sense for us to bid on the phones that are expired and internet, and then continue having Keith maintain the items that he's maintaining. And right now, there's two other non-county companies that are servicing the internet and phones, and that's what we would be bidding on only.
Who's we? Can we, an introduction?
I apologize. Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Joshua Holmes. I'm one of the two owners of Lightspeed Hosting. We're the second largest fiber carrier in the county, aside from First Communications, that rides in the Medina County fiber network. Right now, First Communications is providing the internet to the two Lafayette Township facilities, the administration building and the fire station. And then there's another company handling the voice over IP phones. These are all services that we do in-house. We do them for the county, we do them for several other police stations, fire stations, sheriff stations in the county. If it's important in this county, it usually runs through our data center and our internet, whether we're the primary or the backup, one of the two. We don't currently have any services we're doing with Lafayette Township, one of the few townships in the county we don't do any work with. And I think Keith's done a great job of managing what you guys have in place. And after looking at what was already being managed, I don't think we bring anything beneficial to replacing Keith, nor would we be cheaper. So it makes the most amount of sense for us to keep, again, another local county company in place managing those items, and then we can come in and put a quote on the two services that are right now being outsourced to First Communications and the third-party phone provider. And then, why don't you introduce yourself? They probably know it, some of you. But.
Probably not. I'm Keith Castle. I own KGC Tech Group. We're out of Brunswick. We're a full MSP. So we take care of anything from your desktop to your ISP. We've worked with these guys in the past before, and other clients come to our table about this one, and we're excited and can work with them parallel. We have no problem with that, and I think at the end of the day, we will save them money.
Yeah, 100%.
Josh, you brought up the third-party phone, which we're learning too, that the warranty expires, right? October 31st. So it'd be perfect timing to grab hold of that, so nothing's been lost. What's your ideas on that?
I would agree. So the last conversation we had on the phones was trying to figure out when they expire, what all expires. Is it all at the same time? Are there separate support contracts? Does the service itself have a separate contract from support? So that was good information to have. And it provided that's the path that trustees would like us to take, I can re-quote just phones and internet and nothing else. And then I think you guys can discuss from your end what that looks like. But certainly it would, I mean, I've seen what you guys are paying, it would save you guys money for sure.
I would be all for receiving a quote. I mean, that never hurts. So Keith, our phones, the contract expires on October 31st, right?
Right.
We own the equipment though, right?
You do.
So this would be Josh or somebody like that coming in and taking over just the maintenance and the management of that system, is that?
Well, not necessarily the PBX, which is the physical box that translates everything from the phones and then allows it to operate over top of the internet. We would provide that as part of our service. It wouldn't be an additional cost to the township at all. We would look, though, to reuse the phones we have. Most of the time when we come into a situation where phones already exist, most of the time they're already compatible with our systems. So it's an easy way to keep using them. Unless they were super old. We do run into that sometimes. Someone's got 15-year-old phones. Well, you might as well replace them at that point. But this is not the case. These phones aren't that old. They're perfectly usable in this situation. There's no point in spending money to replace them.
But if we did need new hardware, that's, you guys provide it, we don't have to, do we have a hardware cost, or is that just part of?
So right now, there's no hardware cost for you guys whatsoever to switch.
Okay.
Our pricing includes everything that's needed. And in fact, the physical box you guys paid for, our software we run in our virtualized cloud. So there's not a physical box that even lives on your premises anymore. It's remote, which is really nice because then some of the features you can have remotely and at the other locations don't depend on there being power at one of the two township buildings, which sometimes is not the case.
And then I think we talked when we met, the phone system that you would be supplying would allow us to use on our cell phones a separate app so that township employees wouldn't have, we could eliminate basically our cell phone plans if we wanted to.
So you're exactly right. Right now, and you're not alone, we see this a lot corporately and municipally. We'll see a separate cell phone that's being paid for so that you don't have to give people out your personal number. So this app lives on your own cell phone, and when a call comes in, it comes into that app. And when you make a call from the app, it looks like it's coming from the township's number. So no one ever sees your personal number, and you do everything from one device. You can also check your emails, you can message trustees and other employees internally from the app too, and they even have a companion desktop app that goes with it as well. And those apps don't have an extra cost, they're all included with our system.
And still allows the township to then have, I don't know, control or visibility over the call logs and stuff like that for.
Not just call logs, but you can even turn on call recording if you really wanted to, and have audible recordings of calls that are taking place.
What would be how much do you think we could start saving on a month-to-month basis? Like, say, October 31st, when those phones, when that contract ends, let's say if we were to choose you right now going forward.
The number was a little in flux only because there was not a definite discussion on whether or not the cell phone plans would go away. But that is actually a little bit of a larger savings. And then the support, again, our monthly fee for everything includes support. So we don't have extra support costs. That includes everything 24/7, 365. So I'd love to know what the cost of the cell phones are, because that would factor into that. And what I could do, if it's easier, is in the proposal, I can put the savings as an actual line item in the proposal so that it's public and in the same document.
I think the other thing too that we have to discuss, because it was kind of one of the things that was what started the conversation, was like, do we want to treat this as we currently do, where it's one service to the township and fire district, and then Laura breaks out the allocated expenses, or do we want to set it up so that each entity has their own? Because I know that'll change Josh's cost structure as well.
Yeah, if there's two entities, I'm assuming it's gonna be a greater cost for you.
So, I don't want to speak for Keith. For what we do, it doesn't have to be. We actually have a lot of entities that we service on the business side, the corporate side. We'll have multiple buildings and multiple subsidiaries, and inside the system, it's multi-tenant. So you can subdivide if you wanted to. Multiple phone numbers, multiple divisions, multiple rules based off of, are you calling someone from fire versus admin? One system, so it's not duplicated just because there's two entities involved. From a billing,
billing is more where it comes into.
From a billing perspective, what we can do is if someone says, well, there's 18 users, these 10 users belong to fire, these 8 users belong to admin, we can bill appropriately to the correct entities. The amount's gonna be the same per month, it's just that we'll send 2 bills out instead of 1.
So there wouldn't be there would be no cost difference at all for having two separate invoices?
No, and one of the costs that we talked about, and it wouldn't be something that I would be passing it through, but it would be David Corrado and the fiber network. So Medina County Fiber Network, depending on what we decide to do with the fiber between the buildings, would change how that cost structure would look. But rather than him billing directly, he can bill Lightspeed, which is typically how we interact with clients. And then again, we can split that in our 2 bills, 50-50. And so you're now in a position where there's really no pencil work every month to signify who has to reimburse who. Both entities just pay the bills, and that's it.
I know Keith and I had talked, and I'll let you, I don't wanna speak for you, but I thought you had said that you had no issues at all billing separately, right?
Correct. I don't have an issue with that. I will say, depending on how you do the fiber, it depends on hardware. If you really separate this, you're gonna spend more money up front. It's gonna cost you to truly separate. When it comes to a VoIP system like what they do, you can put that anywhere. You can put it at your house, you can put it at your hotel in Florida, it doesn't matter. It doesn't charge you anything. But if you're truly trying to separate different internet connections, that's gonna get costly. But we can bill it however you wanna bill it.
Is there a benefit to separating them?
None.
I can't think
It's
of it.
actually, that's old technology. The way you're set up now, the way the fiber works, is kind of the way it should be.
Okay.
And when you agree. And the
Yeah.
campus side.
Yeah,
campus.
I think the original thought going into it was it would make sense to do some separation, but I think once we started to have in-depth conversations, it necessarily wasn't the worst that the buildings were connected the way they were.
Right, they just wanna build out
Yeah.
separately.
Exactly.
Well, I think the only concern I had over the connectivity was, and again, this is definitely not my area of expertise, so correct me where I'm wrong, but like the phone call we had earlier this year, where we had, my understanding is the issues that we were having down at the admin was traced back to an issue up here. And we were trying to figure out how, like, if there was a cost-effective way of keeping that from one building affecting the other. But if that's not, if my understanding is incorrect, please.
Right, the issue was here, or there. There was somebody brought in a home-style access point, and it completely took down the network.
At
Which
the
that,
admin building.
at the admin building. Which I've put in emails in over the last few years, we really don't have a whole lot of redundant equipment here. So we were scrambling to get some equipment to find and get it to work. Without having redundant equipment, something on the shelf, ready to go, we are putting ourselves in that every day. You know,
However, the access points that we have now down there are,
they're a match to these.
Right.
So now, when it comes to the access points, we can play around a little bit if we need to. So, but that access point that we found to be problematic, that took the network down, that was a little $99 Best Buy, somebody plugged into the network.
Keith, how do you see splitting the billing? Right straight down the middle?
Yeah, if you look at a 12-month, what we've done, sometimes it's the admin building, sometimes it's fire station. And if you look at it over 12 months, I think if you do split it somewhere 50-50, you're really within reason to me.
I guess my thought was, and you guys do your business the way you do, users or whatever, but you probably get more support calls from admin than you do fire.
It depends what month it is.
There's just more activity down
It
there.
really,
per user.
yes. I mean, it just, sometimes we get, sometimes we're overloaded here, sometimes we're overloaded
there's
down
probably
there.
more users in this building, but
Right.
more traffic in the admin.
Well, and I'm in agreement, I mean, it's up to Keith how he wants to break it out, cause I mean, that's why you pay a flat service contract is, if we don't need anything for the month, we'll, we overpay, but other months where we running ragged,
Right.
you know, we get.
Look how old I'm getting, Justin.
Yeah.
I see some gray hairs. Is that from the ad building?
You definitely look a lot older than you did at our last meeting, I didn't want to say that since you brought it up.
I would not have said that.
But no, I mean, I'm in agreement as far as like however he wants to split it up, I just know that like kind of the way we've been doing it, most of it, and I know a lot of the equipment is up here, but like, you know, so most of the bill comes to the fire department and, you know, that's the budget that's under a little more
Right,
stress too, so,
exactly, yeah,
you know, if
yeah.
we can break that up, plus it makes life easier for Laura from an accounting standpoint, if they're broken out versus having to do the calculations every month,
We can do that.
so.
And right now, we're on a month-to-month with you as it is anyway, right?
Yes, we've been like that for, we don't require it. We want you to like us, and we want you to want us. We don't hold our clients hostage. I've been in business for 25 years, and we just do not hold our clients hostage.
Right. So yeah, Josh, if you wanna provide us a quote, I don't know that do you need to see one with savings, we know.
No, I don't need
what
them,
our
I don't need them to
cell
break
phone
out
bills
exactly
basically,
what it is,
yeah.
we can fairly easily figure out what we're currently paying for everything and what we can eliminate by, you know, finding these efficiencies.
Right, are you guys interested in all about talking about the cell phone thing? I have a bit of a reservation requiring township employees to put an app on their own personal phone for use it for work. I'm not saying it's bad, it just doesn't sit right with me. You know, why should we put the onus on them if we're operating a township? We should provide the tools to our employees, not require them to have their own. And also, if something happens, they leave,
Yeah.
but, whatever, then all of a sudden they've got an app on there. I don't know, we spoke with the prosecutor's office, you did more than I did last year, towards the end of the year, about trying to, you know, keep township business on township devices.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, oh my God, yes.
And that's, you know, that, I don't have an issue there, that's why I was asking about the app piece of it. I think the only issue that I guess the only issue that comes up is, you know, we don't have anybody that's, outside of chief, we don't have anybody that's salaried. Well, I mean, I guess technically the 4 of us, but, you know, so, you know, hourly employees, are they logging their hours when they're using their cell phone? I mean, most places that I've worked, if you were an hourly employee, you weren't issued a company cell phone because you weren't expected to work when you weren't at work. You know, I know the world's changed a lot in the last
Right.
couple of years too, but, you know, that's kind of another piece of it as far as, you know, I don't even know. But at the same time, I mean, with service, you know, Rick's hours aren't always
Yeah.
7 to 3.
No.
I mean, you know, whatever they are, especially in the winter when he's plowing and he needs to be able to be gotten a hold of, so, you know.
Actually, I was kind of somewhat thinking the same thing, but I was gonna ask these guys, when you guys go in and they wanna convert like that with the phones, what's the feedback you get from customers that have asked you about that?
So I've been this for 15 years. I'm telling you, the last 2 or 3 years, everyone's getting rid of their desk phones. I mean, no one wants them. The last couple offices we've done, they're completely virtual. They don't even want desk phones. They use their own cell phone, because in other words, I'm not leaving home without this anyways. I don't want to carry 2, and I'm never at my desk to begin with. So why even pay for a desk phone? So what we have seen, and what we suspect will continue to happen, is that people are just using the mobile app on their phone. Still ties into the same system, and the nice thing too is if they leave, you can log in, disable it. The app on their phone is now useless, they can't use it. You can set up from the app do not disturb, away hours, vacation hours, so that the calls route to someone else. There's lots of neat features you can do, and you don't have to be near your phone. You don't have to log into a web system. So it's just a lot simpler, and our clients, the ones that choose both, almost always wind up never using their phones, and we buy them back and sell them to the next client who thinks they want desk phones. And because once you use it, it's just a lot simpler. It's so much easier.
Kind of thinking what, you know, Chris's reservations, so then, you're just throwing it out there. You're wanting your employees to use their cell phones, and they better have unlimited plans.
Well, it uses data, so it's not going to tie into minutes if you're on a prepaid phone, or if you're on
A Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, well, you know, Wi-Fi network, you're not even using data at that point. And most people are using Wi-Fi when they're in their office. It's not until they leave and get in their car to go somewhere that now they're on actual cell phone data. And nowadays, most of these carriers have unlimited data plans that people are on. It just throttles when you get to a certain point. It doesn't charge you anything. It's just a little slower. But the amount of data you need for these calls is so infinitesimal that it wouldn't impact the call in any way either.
Plus, I would think we could always, you know, if we're worried about a cost thing, we could always look at like a reimbursement program, but just eliminating the need for the township to be buying devices, maintaining devices, keeping track of devices, and then we've been pretty lucky and we don't have a ton of employees, so it's not like there's a high likelihood of it, but then if something does happen and you let somebody go, or somebody is no longer with the township, you don't have to go track down a device or pull anything back.
That's right.
I just think it's something that we should look at as far as.
No, it's always worth discussing,
Yeah.
for sure.
Everything's worth looking at. Businesses prior, for me, company would always reimburse.
Yeah, my company does.
Keith, what was your thoughts on that?
Majority of our clients will put the app on their phone. It's not a security risk. It has nothing to do with your network. It's just basically an application on your phone. Really, everybody wants a phone. Everybody has a phone. You know, the days of old, salaried employees sometimes would carry 2 phones. That's gone by the wayside. So now everybody's just throwing an app on their phone. That's what we see in the majority of all the industries.
And that's what I'm trying to, like, Sherry right now, especially now that she's working in Chatham's, well, she's carrying 3 phones.
Oh, jeez.
You know, so she's got one for us, one for there, and then she's got her personal cell phone, you know.
Right.
Right.
She's gonna run out of pockets eventually.
And that's not a security risk either way. We're not affecting them and they're not affecting us. That's just not something that happens.
Good, thank you.
Anything else?
I think we've got the course of action, you know, Josh will get us some numbers, you know, and then were you gonna look at it both ways, eliminating the dark fiber and then not, and see which one?
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like that's a prerequisite for splitting the billing anyway,
No.
which, okay.
David Crowder has to give me those numbers so I can include them, but I'll get those from David.
So,
I like it.
so just to recap, so Josh is gonna quote, phones and internet, right?
Yep.
And then we want Keith to just rewrite us a new contract, splitting it with the district and township.
Yeah, if we could just
Correct.
clean it up so that it covers both, cause I know we had some questions over, you know, kind of where it started and where it was, and then, you know, whatever makes sense for Keith as far as
We're gonna
allocating
stay-
the cost, just to,
yeah,
if we can get 2 invoices.
We can do that. When would you want that started?
Well, hopefully we'll visit it the first meeting in October.
So you'll let us know when you want that started.
Oh, yeah.
If we could
yeah,
have
yeah.
something, it's 2 weeks, we meet again, our next regularly scheduled meeting is, October seventh,
I
sixth?
think, something.
Seventh, yeah. So Monday the seventh, so 2 weeks from today. Did that give you enough time, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause then we should be able to take a look at it, should be fairly straightforward decision, I would think, you know, once we see kind of where we're at, if we wanna go ahead and then put it in play. Cause we'll be out, October 31st.
First, yes.
So I guess we'd probably be targeting what, a November 1
Yeah,
start if
that's
we're
what I
gonna
was
make a
kinda
change.
thinking, yeah.
10 days. That's good. That's quick.
So shooting for like a November 1 start if we were to do something.
It takes 10 days to have a number ported over,
Okay.
10 business days. I don't control the day it ports over, but we always have everything in place so that when it does, you're not scrambling.
Okay.
The FCC has to approve a report, they can kick it back and say the address didn't match, or the customer name didn't match, then we just refile. But once they give us the go-ahead, it's usually 48 hours, and then they port, but they have up to 10 days to approve or deny it.
So I know you were saying maybe I think you might have got interrupted, Keith. So you'll just send your bill out to us and show how you're gonna split it between the district and township, just so we can have it on 2 sides.
Okay.
Just. Good. I don't have any more questions. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Has to be regarding these topics discussed today?
Have a good day.
I have a question. How does a $99 Best Buy router get plugged into the system and take down the system?
Keith,
Can I just-
Keith got called back.
I know,
I
I've
can
worked at
tell
a
you.
lot of places, and usually you can't run a program without administrative right, without
Right. Right.
administrative rights.
Absolutely.
How does that happen?
So the router has nothing to do with admin rights on a PC. Has nothing to do. It's a separate device doing its own talking, what we call on the network. So when you plug it in, it was broadcasting, and I'll put it in English terms, it was telling the network, hey, I'm here. So I'm a Netgear guy, I'm here. If you need a path, shake my hand. So if a laptop or another phone or something was looking for a path to the internet, oh, it's right there, it's free. And I'm just telling in English. That's what happened. That Netgear was broadcasting saying I'm here, and devices were throughout this whole network was saying, oh, we can go that way, it's much easier. It's not restricted. They went that way, and what in turn it did, it brought down the whole network. And it took 2 days to find that thing. It was about 2 days? A lot of resources.
So how do you prevent that?
Well, we can shut down ports. You know, you can shut down ports and lock them down. That one was actually right in the switch. They put it in. I don't know who did it. We still don't know who did it. But now we've got them shut down. So for that to happen again, it shouldn't happen. Can't tell you, wouldn't promise it, but we got it pretty tight here.
Because I would think that was a big security risk.
It is. It's a huge security risk. Even though when it was plugged in, the devices were just trying to connect to it. They weren't connecting to it. So the security was doing its job. The problem is they weren't connecting and the clients weren't saying, okay, I can't connect, let me go back over to the real network. It was just stopping right there, and then we'd get it working a little bit, and then it would take us down again. So we'd have it working for about an hour, and then all these devices would go right back to that little guy, and then
Cause
once,
it's easy.
and then once we
Whichever one
found it,
responds quickest.
yeah. So that's what happened. 2 days for that little $99 thing.
I wish I could tell you it's an isolated incident, we see the same thing. People buy stuff, they think they're tech savvy and they plug it in and it just,
Nowadays,
Exactly.
everybody knows how to do computers, everybody knows how to do Wi-Fi, everybody is a technician on their phone, they tell us what to do. So we hear this, like Josh is right, it's a non-stop vicious circle of fighting it. People just plug in things.
All right, thank you.
Anybody, anything else?
Techie questions.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
And, it is 2:21, I will make the motion to adjourn.
I have a second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned at 2:21.